Hi and welcome. My name is Ryan O'Connell and I'll be your instructor in this training series, Encrypt a Virtual Machine. We are going to encrypt an Azure Virtual Windows machine. We'll encrypt that VM using the Azure CLI/bash interface. We'll confirm encryption has taken place, and of course we'll do this as a live lab. Azure Disk Encryption. Azure Virtual Machines can be created through the portal and PowerShell/Cloud Shell. The portal is a browser-based user interface to create VMs and the associated resources. Azure Disk Encryption can be applied to both Linux and Windows virtual machines, as well as virtual machine scale sets. Azure Disk Encryption requires Azure Key Vault to control and manage and encrypt keys and secrets. Your key vault and VMs must reside in the same region and subscription when you are talking about encryption. Azure Disk Encryption helps protect and safeguard your data to meet your organizational and compliance commitments. It uses the Windows BitLocker feature and provides volume encryption for the OS and data disks of the Azure virtual machines. And it's integrated with Azure Key Vault to help you control and manage disk encryption and your keys and secrets. Azure Disk Encryption is zone resilient the same way as virtual machines are. If you've previously used disk encryption with Azure AD to encrypt your VMs, you must continue to use this option to encrypt your VMs. You can't swap and change unless you create a whole brand new key vault. Azure Key Vault is a cryptographic key management service that is based on the Federal Information Processing Standards and validates the hardware and security modules. These standards help safeguard your cryptographic keys and sensitive secrets. BitLocker is an industry-recognized Windows volume encryption technology that is used to enable disk encryption on Windows VMs. Again, key encryption, or KEK, is your asymmetric key that you use to protect or wrap the secret. You can provide hardware security module to the protected keys or software protected keys. How does it work? Your OS and data disks are protected by the customer storage account. The keys and secrets are protected in Key Vault. And of course, your virtual machines, as you can see, they encrypt and decrypt, and the encrypt configs go through PowerShell, CLI, or the CMD or ARM when you are connecting. So it's very, very secure. If you do lose your keys, you need to generate them again. And just bear in mind, if you do lose keys and secrets, you may not be able to connect to your resources. So these are things that you just need to keep in mind. Things to know: storage encryption automatically encrypts your data before it's stored and automatically decrypts the data when you retrieve it. That's pretty cool. Client-side encryption: data is encrypted by the clients that are running on the customer's data center by a service application. Data is already encrypted when it's received by Azure. Azure Disk Encryption, which is what we're talking about, the client-side encryption, and cloud service providers don't have access to the encryption keys and cannot decrypt your data. You maintain control over your keys. So it's important that you keep your keys safe. You can perform client-side encryption of Azure blobs in various ways as well. Below is the link to the Microsoft Azure Security Fundamentals Encryption Overview. I would encourage you guys to go there and have a look. So let's log on live to the Azure portal and let's do this live and see how it's done. Hi and welcome to the portal. So we're going to go ahead and open up Cloud Shell, and we're going to navigate to Bash. If you're in PowerShell for some reason, please select Bash. To give you an example, if I'm in PowerShell and I want to move over to Bash, all you have to do is select the little drop down menu here, select Bash, and confirm you want to shift over to Bash and let Bash run. So the first thing we want to do in Bash is we want to go ahead and create a resource group. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in my resource group. I already have this in Notepad. So as you can see, my resource group is called Encrypted VMs. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that. And that's going to go away and create that resource group for us. I'm going to minimize this and just do a refresh here, and we should see our resource group popping up short. And as you can see, after doing a refresh, my resource group has populated over here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create a Windows virtual machine. So I'm going to go ahead and paste some commands in that I already have, and this is going to go ahead and create a Windows virtual machine. It's going to put it in the encrypted resource group. It's going to name the virtual machine Encrypt Win VM. It's a 2016 data center. There's my user and there's my password, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. That's going to go away and deploy that virtual machine, and it can take anywhere from, like I say, 1 or 2 minutes to 5, maybe 10 minutes, all depending on your connection and depending on the type of virtual machine you are creating. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for a few minutes and let this go ahead and create and deploy. And as you can see, it's gone ahead and it's created our virtual machine. So I'm just going to drag this down a little bit, and we will scroll down here and we will come to virtual machines, and we will then do a quick refresh, and there's our encrypted our virtual machine that we are going to encrypt. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to create a key vault. Key vaults are important because they store our secrets, our certificates, and it also allows us to manage our disk encryption or virtual machine encryption. In our case, we are encrypting our virtual machine. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in this command, and it's going to create a key vault called Encrypt Key Vault 2. It's going to put it in the encrypted VMs, and it's going to be enabled for disk encryption. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and that's going to go away and create that key vault and put that key vault in that encrypted VM's resource group, and it's going to enable that key vault for disk encryption for our virtual machine. So that again can take a couple of minutes to run, so we'll just wait until that's completed running. And as you can see, it was pretty quick. It went ahead and created that key vault, as you can see. Now just bear in mind, by default the key vault soft deletion retention is 90 days. You can modify this if you use the portal, but it's just something for you to be aware of. So let's just see and confirm that our key vault has been created. So we can go right to the top here, and we could type in key and search for key vaults, and there's our key vault that's been created. We still haven't encrypted our virtual machine. We're going to do that now because we have to create the key vault first. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this command in because I've typed it out in Notepad, and that's going to encrypt our virtual machine. So it's going to encrypt that VM, and it's going to put the disk encryption in key vault 02. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and that's again can take a couple of seconds to a few minutes to run. So we'll just wait while that encryption is taking place. And as you can see, that didn't take too long to encrypt. I'm going to paste a command in here, and this will tell us whether our VM has been encrypted or if it's in progress. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and as you can see, it tells us encryption is enabled on the disk, so we know encryption is successful. But how do we confirm that encryption is enabled? I'm going to show you the easy way. So what we're going to do is we're going to move over to our virtual machine. I'm going to click on my virtual machine, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect to it using RDP. I'm just going to download that RDP file. So I've downloaded that RDP file, so I'm just going to drag it over. I'm going to connect. This is going to allow me to connect to that server. So I'm going to type in my username, which is AZ user. I'll type in my password. I'm going to accept the certificate and say yes. And I'm going to now connect to that virtual machine. It's opened up on my second window, so I'm just going to drag it over quickly so you can see that virtual machine here. And as you can see, it's logging us in. So this again will only take a couple of seconds for us to log in. And as you can see, it's logged us in. And if you notice here, it says that little message popped up really quick saying disk encryption in progress. So we'll just give it a second. We'll close this server manager down once it opens up. And then I will show you on the C drive how to confirm that encryption has been enabled. So I'm going to close this bad boy down over here. And I'm going to click on my folder here to open up C drive. And I'm going to go to this PC. And if you notice, we've got these nice little padlocks here. And these padlocks confirm that your disk has been encrypted. So that's a nice, easy way to confirm you have encryption enabled. If you don't have encryption enabled, you will not see these padlocks. So that's how you can tell that disk encryption has been enabled on your PC. But also you can see here that encryption on C for BitLocker is still in progress, being encrypted. So it does take a couple of minutes to happen. But once it does happen, you will notice, like I say, you'll see the locks there and you'll see this little icon here as well. So that's how you encrypt your Azure virtual machine or your Windows virtual machine. And we can do the same with Linux as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And I'm going to quickly move over to Key Vault and just show you some things in Key Vault quickly before we finish this lab off. And if we move over into Key Vault, we can see a whole lot of information. Here's our Key Vault that we've created. We've got access policies, and access policies tell us that our Azure disk for encryption for volume is enabled. And also scrolling down, we can see what our keys are. We can generate keys. We can see what events there are. We can actually go to the security center as well. And of course, we can navigate down to properties and get more information about our Key Vault storage location. And if you notice, by default, it's grayed out here because it gives us 90 days. But if you create it through the portal, like I said earlier on, you can then change that to 7 days. You can't have anything that less than 7. It's got to be 7 days or more. And of course, you can do a refresh. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down. And of course, if I do a refresh here, you can see my Key Vault has been created. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and clean up our resources. So the first thing we want to do is go to virtual machines. We want to click on our virtual machine. And then we want to go ahead and stop our virtual machine because we've completed this lab and there's no reason to carry on. But also I wanted to show you here that we do have Azure disk encryption enabled as well. So if you go to your virtual machine, you go to disks, you can see Azure disk encryption has been enabled. So that's like 2 ways or 3 ways for you to see. You can see it running in Bash. Scrolling down, if you go to Bash, you can see there disk has been encrypted. You can also then have a look at it here in the virtual machine itself in the properties. And of course, you can log on to the virtual machine and look for that little padlock. So at least you know and in your mind that, well, I know it's definitely been encrypted. Encryption has been enabled on that VM. Again, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. A lot of you may know how to do this already. A lot of you may not. I hope you've learned something new, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.